Hey hippies, welcome back. Welcome back. If it's your first time, make sure you do hit that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any tutorials that I have for you guys moving forward. And if you've seen that intro, you already know what we're getting started with today. She is going to be absolutely beautiful. So this is going to be another one of my signature CANNABLING tutorials. I sell the charms for these tutorials on my Etsy store, so do make sure you check that out, linked below as well. What we do is we just start out with putting a layer of resin inside the rim, and we're just going to go over with that heat gun because we want to make sure that we can get it as bubble free as possible. So I do also let that resin sit a bit off camera before I start recording, and that just helps a lot of the bubbles to release. So if you have a resin that has a high working time, this one does have a pretty high working time and I really enjoy it. It will be linked below for you as well. And it just allows me to be able to really get in there and do what I need to do. So I place the charms in there face down, and I am using this stir stick to just kind of press everything into place, making sure any bubbles that might have got trapped when I was dropping it are released. And from here I'm just adding in these little arrow charms where the little dips where your blunt would go, or your cigarette, or whatever you're holding will go. So yeah, just go ahead, and once you finish with this and you got everything exactly how you want it, you can spray your alcohol to remove any bubbles further, and then we're just going to allow that to cure. Alright, so after that has had a chance to cure, you're just going to go ahead and mix up a little bit more resin, and from here you're going to pour half of it into your iridescent flakes. So I'm only pouring half right now because later in the next step some of the resin will be dripping off into the side, so don't worry if it doesn't completely cover everything exactly how you want it. It'll be just fine. So yeah, you're just going to mix that up, make sure you get all the bubbles out the best you can, and then from here you're just going to pour that into the rim of your mold. Make sure you get a nice even layer the best that you can, and you're going to scrape out all the iridescent flakes the best you can because this is probably going to be pretty thick. So just get in there with that stir stick and scrape it all out the best you can, so that way no resin gets left behind. Alright, I'm cleaning up a bit, making sure that any holes that are in there, that I get them out, and I'm also going over with the heat gun, of course, so that way I can further thin that resin out, because the thinner the resin is, the easier it is for the bubbles to rise to the top and pop the way you want them to, so that way it's not all cloudy. You want to get the full effect of those iridescent flakes and everything. So I'm also going in with a toothpick because into these little crevices and everything in this particular mold, I notice bubbles get trapped very easily, so go in there with that and make sure you get all the way within those corners and everything. So from here, I am taking this LED string light that I pre-molded ahead of time, and I'm just going to go ahead and stick that in. I'm using my stir stick to push everything into place. It does take a little finagling, but you'll be able to get it. My camera cut out, so sorry about that, but I'm pretty sure you guys got the gist of it, of what I was doing. So on this step here, what I'm doing is I just poured a little bit of resin onto the base of this tray mold, and then I'm placing my butterflies in there face down. I want my butterflies to kind of float on top of all the florals and greenery that I'll be putting in there. So I'm putting them in there on that first layer here. And then what you'll see me do is just use that stick to press them into place, and then I will take my flowers, my pressed flowers, and I'll place those in the pattern of my choice. Here I'm using like this little bouquet like pattern, and I'm just kind of doing something that kind of mimics the shape of the ashtray as well. And I'm coming in with the resin is just the remaining 40 milliliters that I had from that 80 milliliters earlier, and I'm just making sure that I reserve a bit as I move, so that way I can add into the empty spaces where I need it and everything as I go. And we will be using the full amount of that 80, so no worries, it will not get wasted. From here you see me just kind of clipping these flowers. I believe this is baby's breath right here. I'm just clipping them because the stems on them are really long, and they extend further than what I need them to. So I'm just clipping them down with some mini scissors and popping them into place how I want them, and then pressing them down using that stir stick just like I did with pretty much everything else. Now you see me kind of working with some leaves. I got these leaves off of Amazon, I believe, and they just came in a nice little pack with some flowers. So it's one of the little mixed up packages that they do. They come in handy, and I have like a bunch of them. I actually have some dope stuff that I have coming out for you guys. I'm going to be dropping some mystery boxes soon that will have so many dope inserts in there that I use on here specifically, because I know everyone doesn't necessarily want to have an entire craft room the way that I have, and everyone's not in this as deep, so that's completely fine. But these boxes will allow you to be able to pump out multiple projects, so that way you can have different crystals, you have different glitters, different inserts, foils, all that is going to be completely customized and different themes and everything. I'm totally excited to get that out for you guys, so make sure you favorite my Etsy store. I do have it linked below for you guys, and you know, like I said, I can't wait to show everything that I have for you. Alright, so moving on with what we're doing here, I'm just continuing to place these leaves and making sure that I have everything how I want it, and I'm going to come into the negative spaces, and I'm going to add in some gold foiling just to add a few more pops of color and just some more dimension. I love to have like a lot of details inside my ashtrays, and this is one of the ways I pop them in, because who wants just like random negative space? You want something that's beautiful and that's really just going to entrance you, and that's what I go for here. So just coming in with the remaining of that resin, like I said, no resin left behind here, and we're just going to pour that into all the negative spaces, making sure that everything's filled up and that those LED lights are completely covered and that we have everything how we want it. And then of course we're just going to allow that some time to cure. Alright, so now for the fun color part, and also the easiest layer of them all. So what I'm doing here is I'm just popping in some mica powders, and I'm pouring in some resin as well, getting that mixed up thoroughly. And then I'm just going to add in some glow powders. I'm adding in 2 different colors so I can get this nice bright green glow that I'm going for. I don't want it green, but I want it like kind of like lightish green. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then I just tossed in a few drops of alcohol ink and then the remaining of that resin, so that way I can mix it up thoroughly, and it just allows me to be able to make sure I get as many bubbles out as possible and that the colors disperse nicely and there aren't like pockets of color that I don't want or any clumps of the powder in there. From here, you're just going to go ahead and pour from an elevated surface. As you guys can see, I have the little light compartment, the light battery compartment over into the side, and a little medicine cup, so that way it's safely out the way. And you're just going to pour that in there, and after you get it poured nice and even, you can hit it with the heat gun if you need to, spray with some alcohol, and just allow that to cure. Alright, so after you finish letting that cure and it's nice and hard, you're just going to go ahead and pull this from the mold. Now this one is a little bit difficult to demold, so take your time, and it does usually produce sharp edges, so be careful of those. I like to demold this by making sure I pull at the sides and getting all the sides loose, and then from there I can kind of start flipping it up on the side like so, and then I just do that and work around, and I'm able to kind of pull at the inner sides. I'm hoping that makes sense, but just kind of follow what I'm doing here, and just like I said, take your time and feel around, and also grip it in safe areas so that way you don't cut your hand by holding it too hard or anything on those sharp edges. Eventually it will loosen it up enough so that way you can just go ahead and pop it out. And then this is what we have here. This is our product that we have fresh out of the molds, but we are not stopping here. So on to the next step. What you're going to do is you're just going to prep 15 milliliters of resin, reserve that over into a cup like so, and then you're going to see me just add in a little bit of glitter. You're adding in very, very little glitter because you want it to just be more of a shimmer layer on top of everything that we have going on this base here. So get that stirred up really well. The glitter does get on the sides, so make sure you scrape it off the sides, and then just pour that layer all into the base of this tray that we have here, and then use that stir stick to make sure you get in all the nooks and crannies. So you cannot overdo this part. Just make sure the coat is even, and you know, you get into all those little spaces, because like I said, these little ridges in here will hold some air bubbles. So touch every single surface that you can, and then also get in with that heat gun, and then that will also help move everything around once you spread it with the stir stick, and then that'll make sure everything's nice and even. And then we're just going to allow that some time to cure after we spray it with some alcohol to pop all the bubbles. Alright, so once that fully cures, you're going to go ahead and take your black light. You can use a UV light, but I use my black light because it's super powerful and it's what I already had on hand as well. So I'm just going to go over that. This is going to charge and activate these glow powders so they glow nice and brightly. I zoomed in so that way you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You can actually see it kind of pick up and charge on here a tad bit. And then you're just kind of going to do this for a minute, making sure you move all over the surface and getting it all over, making sure it's charged everywhere. Alright, so this is our glow show. So we got 3 different stages, and this is the one we're going to start off with here. I love how powerful these glows are here. It's just absolutely stunning. There's no way you're going to miss this ashtray in the dark, and it's very easy to charge. It glows brightly, and I think it still shows off everything that's in here very, very well. So that's absolutely stunning. It's very beautiful. I do recommend those glow powders. Step 2, this is what it looks like just out sitting regularly out on your like table or anything like that. As you can see, it has a beautiful casting. These bows, they shimmer beautifully in here. These charms, they aren't available yet in my Etsy store, but they are coming soon. I have a huge shipment coming with so many different styles that I will be having released. I love how these butterflies look on here. They are just kind of floating through the flowers. And I love the florals, how these iridescents like just kind of sparkle on here. You see what I was talking about with that glitter shimmer layer. It doesn't overpower, but it adds a nice shimmer, which I think is just so beautiful. And I'm just so in love with how this turned out, and I just hope the owner loves it as much as I do. So on to the next phase, our 3rd phase. This is how she glows with the LED lights on. So this is how she glows in light and in the dark when you turn her on. And I just love how she illuminates, and you're able to just see everything even more brightly. If you guys love this ashtray as much as I do, make sure you leave a comment below for me. I love hearing from you guys. Feedback is a gift. And until next time, hippies,